What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for December 5th, 2022. They finally talked about 318, and quite a lot about it at that. And we're on the road to Pyro, even though it's nowhere near finished. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, every day but Monday, so I can get this video out to you guys. And yeah, thanks for watching SaltEMike too. It's been absolutely popping off lately, so thank you very much for that. But we do have quite a bit to get through, so let's start out with talking about 318. Now, most of the conversation around 318 took place in Patch Watch. It's a post that they put on the forums, basically highlighting the other things that may not be on the roadmap or you might not know about that are coming in the next patch. And they started out with key binding changes here, and one of the new ones is gimbal modes. We've always been able to swap our gimbal modes by just pressing G. Now, it's still the G key, but a short press will be swapping between fixed and auto modes, and a long press will activate manual gimbal mode. Then for pip toggling, we've always been able to do that, but now there's different buttons that you can press for lag pip or lead pip. Then ESP, this one is for joystick users. I know that there's some situations where ESP can be problematic, so the ability to swap between them is quite a big deal. I think one of the reasons that I did really well at this fight or flight tournament a year or so ago was because we really dialed in my ESP settings, but there are some things that it affects negatively. Then landing gear keybinds, there's one that can go landing gear up and one that can go landing gear now, so separating them is an option for you. Then stopwatch, this one's really cool. This isn't a keybind. Well, I guess there are some keybinds for it, but they added a stopwatch to the HUD. And what I find to be cool about this is I initially thought this was kind of dumb because we were going to have racing modes and there was going to be a stopwatch essentially tied to that. But now think of all the things that you might want to time. Think about all the world records that could happen now, right? So there's all cool things that you can take place within the Star Citizen game just by this simple little addition to your HUD, right? Pretty cool. And then ballistic changes. This is the one that was controversial, to say the least, this week, and it's ballistic shield penetration. And ballistic rounds barely are going to be affected by shields anymore, where they were kind of, their damage was dumbed down by 50% when shields were up. Now it's not going to affect them really at all, and you're just going to be able to damage hulls with ballistic rounds. Now, they mentioned weapon diversification, which sounds like something that they want to do that's not going to be ready for 318, that gives you maybe a debuff for going with all ballistics or all lasers, and you want to mix and match a little bit more. The reason this one had a lot of controversy is because people feel that it's going to ruin the game in the short term. Everyone's going to run ballistics, people are going to die super fast, uninteresting PvP, uninteresting bounty hunting, uninteresting gameplay. Those are all probably true, okay? I think we all know these to be true, and what's funny is the developers probably also know these to be true, but Yogi posted very early this morning, I think 3 a.m. my time, that the plan here is for them to put this in and see what happens. They kind of like it so far. They want to see how it works without armor. So, yeah, it's just simply to gather feedback, gather data. That's it. And this really comes down to Star Citizen not really caring about being a live service at all, when its players really want it to be, right? Even though it's not a complete game, even though it's very much in alpha, people want to play it as if it is a playable game. And when CIG does things like this, it makes it unplayable, and then they get upset. We all know the game's an alpha, but we all want it to be less of it because it's not just an alpha. It's also a live service. I've been going over this for now probably years on this channel, is CIG needs to lean more towards the live service. If you want to get data on this, then just do it in a PTU. People don't know if this is going to end up in live, so we don't really know, because a Patch Watch post basically says, hey, this is going to end up in live, by the way. But then again, Yogi posted this morning saying that it's just 5 values to change, no big deal, super easy. If it doesn't work, we're just going to revert it. So good news, bad news, middling news. alpha news, it just is what it is. Then distortion pass, coolers will no longer be affected by distortion, at least for now, until they address even how coolers work. It's not really, working. The pipe system doesn't exist, all this stuff that kind of messes up coolers, right? Because basically, if your coolers break, your whole ship can't come online, and then power plants are going to shut down for 5 minutes. 5 minutes when they hit their distortion max, and then will no longer take distortion damage anymore while it's offline. Similar to how EMPs work. If you turn everything off before an EMP goes off, you're in good shape, right? Now, I like this direction personally, but I can see how some people may not. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about the ballistics. Let me know what you think about distortion. All this stuff is really for them to gather feedback. So leave the feedback everywhere, and it'll eventually get to them. Then mining. This is something positive feedback. Gems are going to stack in 3.18. This makes rock mining viable again with a group. It's going to be super fun. I can't wait to do it. There will also be a referral bonus, which I think is pretty obvious. Who knows what it'll be, but CIG for every new patch is always going to do a referral bonus. Then there is going to be a wipe. This is a full wipe coming to 3.18, and that means money, items, reputation, all going to be set back to scratch at the start of 3.18 Live. Personally, I'm excited about this. This goes back to the live service aspects of the game not really existing. And because they don't exist, it's always fun to start fresh and kind of feel like you're playing a video game for a couple of weeks, right? So I jump on a new account and just play from start, and it's super fun. And that's how I enjoy the game. But let me know what you guys think about the wipe down in the comments below, and let's jump into some video updates. And for those video updates this week, we start out with an Inside Star Citizen titled Finding the North Star, but they start out with a different feature on tools, and a specific tool that the Theaters of War guy came on camera and told us all about how they're going to be able to push out more builds more often. And they took a long time to kind of get to that point, so if you guys really want to watch the whole thing, link will be in the description for Inside Star Citizen. But the only other thing that I want to point out about this is that if you are currently in testing for 3.18, you will notice that the builds are kind of coming out more consistently. So if this tool is fully functioning, it really is helping and working. And then they moved on to the Polaris interior concept art. And yeah, it looks like the Polaris still. The internals look like they fit for a military ship as well as for a current day standard ship that we expect now. Nothing new, nothing crazy. All good. But the one thing that I do want to say that's not all good is none of this work was on the progress tracker as far as I'm aware, kind of diminishing the point of even looking at it. And then at the same time, no additional work is on the progress tracker for the Polaris. So is it going to continue to be worked on? Is it on the schedule? Is it even worth talking about? And I want to give you guys all the updates every week, including ship updates, and I will continue to. But this is starting to get kind of hilarious at this point, where they show you a few pictures and expect you to be excited. I really hope that there is a change internally at CIG just around the kind of concept thing and all of that. But yeah, we'll have to see. And then we move on to Star Citizen Live, titled Montreal Protocol. This is basically where the Montreal studio has a team that does locations. They were out in the UK, Jared pulled them in, and we got to know them a little bit better. It was pretty cool, but it was just another one of those episodes where, yeah, you essentially just get to know them better, and they just talk about their jobs. Not too many interesting things happen, but they did get on the subject of Pyro, and they said this.
Are there going to be more of the derelict locations added to Stanton, or is it mainly Pyro that the work is going into?
Right now, we're thinking about making more on Stanton, because Pyro is not really ready yet to create too much stuff on it. So yeah, we'll say that, but eventually we're going to have a lot of them.
Pyro. It should.
Right now?
Yeah. Well, not
eventually. No, not right now, but soon. Yeah. For the next year, will be more Stanton, but eventually we'll be everywhere.
Whoa, so you're telling me we're supposed to be on the road to Pyro, but you can't even place outposts here, which are, a standard thing that has been going on in Stanton for a very long time. That's crazy. So the live chat during the show went completely crazy, and Jared went into full damage control mode.
At this point, I'm going to have to do what's called the little station keeping here, because chat is glomming onto your comment about Pyro and how you're not working on Pyro right now. So I'm going to do some station keeping here. For folks who maybe don't follow the entire breadth of Star Citizen's development, Pyro can't be added to the Precision universe until server meshing is in. Server meshing needs prerequisites like persistent entity streaming coming in 3.18, and these things all take several months and months to do. Stanton's not finished. I saw somebody say Stanton is finished, and I think Stanton's not finished. We're still building Stanton. We're still building Pyro. We're still building Nyx, stuff like this. But it's not a thing where you just... It goes akin to what John Cruz said. John Cruz said had a line in our IAE All Ships Super Talk Spectacular from a couple weeks ago that was also taken out of context, where actually it wasn't John Cruz, it was Ben Curtis, where they talked about where's the best place to put your work and your effort right now. And it is, the question comes if you can work right now to put something in the game right now. That's a better use than if you can work to put something in the game 6 months from now, because you can work next month to put the thing in 6 months from now. So game development is a constant series of priority shiftings and adjustments, and that I'm sure I'm not revealing any secrets to anybody.
Nope, Jared, we all get that priorities shift. We all understand that Star Citizen's an alpha. Even people who are commentary type people like myself all understand that. It's the way in which the information was shared, out of nowhere, from a developer, randomly on a Star Citizen Live, that people just stopped working on Pyro and shifted to another priority. But what is that priority? The lack of information that the players have kind of causes the need for the damage control type stuff to happen because you didn't do it in the first place. So for me, if I was in the room, I would have asked the question, well, what did you shift priorities to? Maybe it was Nyx. Positive, that would be awesome. Or maybe it was Squadron 42. And then it would be negative, right? So maybe that's what's happening here, where they shifted towards Squadron, didn't want to say anything, but the reasons behind shifting to other work, regardless of what it is, still makes perfect sense. Server meshing? I don't see it anywhere. So Pyro's nowhere near happening. And we don't even have PES on our live servers yet, and it's December 5th. So I'm not really excited, hyped up, or even thinking about Pyro yet. I'm really just thinking about P18, or 318, P18, and how it's going to be, and that's really it. So just kind of sharing and giving the information that is probably, you know, one of the things that we should know. Like, there's a lot of things that we shouldn't, but if people stop working on Pyro, move on to Nyx, it might have casually been mentioned in a monthly report here and there, but that's really about it. So yeah, I think that's really where the issue is us just not knowing and then hearing about it in a kind of abrupt and out of nowhere kind of way. And then the last thing that I want to share is what's coming next week. And it's just as bad as the Pyro conversation.
And then come on back next week. Next week's going to be an interesting one. ISC is changing format to be a Journey to 4.0 special. If you saw our CitizenCon presentations this year, many of them were themed about a special Journey to 4.0 presentations. We have another one and several more coming throughout the next months into 2023. And the first of the new rash of Journey to 4.0 features is coming next Thursday, where ISC is. So you can check that out. It's about audio concepts for the Pyro system and trying to create a new and alien soundscape.
I'm sorry, what? Audio concepts? We don't just get concepts for pictures, guys. We get audio concepts too. So yeah, this is going to be a great episode next week. But it would have probably been a good episode for when Jared's off for 3 weeks, ISC's gone, that kind of thing. I don't want to say Jared's off because we know that they're working, but ISC is off for 3 weeks and there's not much going on. This would be a perfect spot to fill in, but nope, it's the road to Pyro, guys. We're on the road to Pyro. Audio concepts. And then lastly, we have a very short other updates. Galactopedia update was the only thing that we got. The long article was on Crusader and was a decent read, and then the short articles are actually really cool. They're not just about planets like they usually are. They're about the people who discovered star systems throughout Star Citizen's history. So it's kind of cool, the people who found the systems that we will hopefully be playing in. Eventually, maybe. One day. I don't know. But guys, that will do it with today's episode. So thank you very much for watching Week in Review. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. And I will catch you guys all next week. But before we go, make sure you leave a comment, like and subscribe, and yeah, catch you guys next week. Thank you for enjoying the content. It's been a joy to be a part of making it for you guys. So again, lots of really positive and good things going around the content lately, even though they may not be about the most positive things. So I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate it. I'll see you guys next week.